So you did make your point about obiter dictum. I'll go to that, but I just wanna start out by saying the fact is there is a Duterte versus House of Representatives. So with your permission, let's start discussing that. So this case of Duterte versus House of Representatives came out after the impeachment of CJ Corona, correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And the two elements was discussed in this case. The act charge must be impeachable under Article 11, Paragraph 2 of the Constitution, and 2, the act committed must be committed during the term of the impeachable officer. You commented on that. Can you elaborate or give your stand regarding... I think you agree with letter A, right? That the charge must be an impeachable offense. I mean, we all agree on that, right?
Well, I would distinguish, Your Honor, please, between what we would call ratio decidendi, or the rule in that particular case, and obiter dicta, which are side comments or incidental remarks made in the opinion of the court. If we are speaking of the ratio decidendi of the Duterte versus House of Representatives case, I would have to disagree that it relates to the statements that you mentioned. My understanding of that case is it really relates to the first mode of impeachment and the procedures that must be followed, the one-year ban provided in the Constitution, how that will be applied when impeachment complaints are filed by at least one-third of the members of the House of Representatives. Yung pong nabanggit nila that the basis of any charge must relate to the incumbency of the official, in my view, that is obiter dicta.
Okay.
Not necessary
I
for the
appreciate your
decision
answer.
of the
We'll go
case.
to that. But regardless of the Duterte versus House of Representative ruling, we do agree with letter A. The act charged must be an impeachable offense under Article 11(2) of the Constitution.
I would agree, but if
Yes.
I may be allowed to just qualify
No, this is just a
that.
general. It's not a trap question.
No,
So,
Your
diba,
Honor.
so the officer has to be impeachable, and the acts charge should be an impeachable offense. And since you have betrayal of public trust, that's quite broad. No? So this is not a trap question. This is just laying the basis. But go ahead if you want to comment on that.
Yes, the acts charged must constitute an impeachable offense, and that power to decide what is an impeachable offense is lodged exclusively with this honorable court.
Okay. So you disagree that part of the ratio decidendi is the act must be committed during the term of the impeachable officer. Thank you for bringing it up now, because I think all throughout the trial, especially in the articles where we will bring up acts before 2022, this discussion will be relevant, no? So by discussing this, it will pass upon the whether or not including proof like bank records, financial documents, before her term can be inquired into. The prosecution says it cannot, right? Because you believe it's an obiter dictum. I'm just restating. You can say it in your words. You believe that the statement that the act must be committed during the term of the impeachable officer is not the law of the land. It's an obiter dictum.
In the first place, if Your Honor, please, that was not the exact statement of the court.
Okay.
The court said the basis of the charge must relate to the incumbency of the
Okay.
impeachable official,
Yes.
which does not rule out the presentation of evidence of acts or omissions that occurred before the person became an
So
impeachable
let's
officer.
take the judicial notice of the, as you said more eloquently and correctly, that the acts, no, during her term. So can you define, you defined this in your opening statement, but for the sake of this discussion, an obiter dictum is what?
It's a side comment, Your Honor, that is not necessary for the resolution of that case.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and it's a remark made or opinion expressed by a judge in a decision upon a cause, or it's a by the way, that is incidentally or collaterally and not directly upon the question before him, or upon a point not necessarily involved in the determination of the cause, or introduced by way of illustration, analogy, or argument such are not binding precedents. No? Just for the public and for all of us, di ba?
Yes,
So
sir.
ang sinasabi, yes, there can be a Supreme Court decision, but that part could be an obiter dictum, meaning hindi yan yung doktrina that will bind us in making decisions, whether it's issuing the subpoena or admissibility. But are you aware of the Villanueva versus Court of Appeals, GR 142947, March 19, 2002? I won't take it against both of you if you do not. There are thousands of cases. It talks about what is obiter dictum. Have you passed about on this, both counsels?
For me, Your Honor.
Yeah, so the prosecution characterization of the requirement that the basis of the charge must be for impeachable acts or omissions committed in relation to their office during the current term of the impeachable officer as an obiter dictum. But in the Court of Appeals, in Villanueva versus Court of Appeals, in that case, the Supreme Court held an adjudication on any point within the issues presented by the case cannot be considered an obiter dictum, even where the point is only incidentally involved. So we agree if it's incidental, pwedeng obiter, but if it's on point within the issues, sabi ng Villanueva case, it is not. So long as it is presented and decided in the regular course of the consideration of the case and led up to the final conclusion, or is a statement as to the matter of which the decision is predicated. The court added that a point expressly decided does not lose its value as a precedent because the disposition of the case is or might have been made on some other ground, and that where a court decides several points, none of such points can't be regarded as having the status of a dictum. And one point should not be denied authority merely because another point was and more dwelt on and more fully argued and considered. So going back to the Duterte versus House of Representatives, the requirement that an impeachable act be committed in relation to their office and during the current term was not a remark made by the way. The Supreme Court and Bank laid it down as one of the enumerated principles that due process requires, which is the very ground on which the ruling was predicated. Even if the court also struck down the 2025 impeachment complaint based on the one-year bar, so this is the question, does it not render the due process requirement laid out as a mere obiter dicta, or because it's based on due process, regardless of the mode of initiation, regardless of the mode of how the articles of impeachment got here, isn't due process still a requirement?
If I may be recognized,
Yes.
Your Honor.
Counsel for the panel of prosecutors may respond.
Precisely, Your Honor. If a matter is within the issues resolved by the court, then it may not be considered as obiter dicta. But if we look at the decision in the case of Duterte versus House of Representatives, ang mismong nangyari po doon ay may naunang dalawang complaints that were endorsed at may sumunod na complaint filed by at least one-third of the members of the House. At yun yung tinutukan po ng ating Supreme Court. It was in that context that the Supreme Court made pronouncements about the one-year bar and even about due process. At no time in that case was it ever a fact in issue about the mode of impeachment that is involved in our case today. Ang pinag-uusapan po natin dito ay individual complaints that were then referred by the House to the Committee on Justice, heard by the committee, and then brought back to the plenary, and eventually umabot po dito through articles of impeachment. So kahit may sinabi ang Supreme Court about impeachable offenses in relation to the charges, kami po ay naniniwala na hindi po yan pumapasok o sumasakop sa issues that were decided in that case.
I'll not argue with you because that's not my job here. I'll follow the Pia Cayetano style and move to the defense. But just a follow-up question on that. So I respect your belief on that. But my point is, the legal principle of due process applied to that mode, is it not logical that it's the same legal principle on due process even if you use another mode?
First of all, if Your Honors, please, when we speak of due process, of course, there are two types, substantive and procedural due process. And when we speak of substantive, we're talking about protections to life, liberty, and property. Wala naman pong ganun na issue po dito sa atin because office is not a property. We're not talking about the life or liberty of the respondent. Ang pinag-uusapan po natin dito kung due process ang issue ay simply fundamental fairness. And I do believe that this proceeding does require fundamental fairness, but at the same time, it does not require that this court be hamstrung in terms of how to decide whether an offense is impeachable or not. That power is exclusively given to this court at dapat kayo lang po ang magdesisyon at magpasya kung ano nga ba yan. So when we speak of what is an impeachable offense, may kaugnayan po yan doon sa nabanggit ninyong the basis of the charge must relate to the incumbency. Because in our view, that is really something that each member of this honorable court will have to decide when the time comes.
Yeah, later on, I'll ask you that question, whether or not, what, if ever, can the Supreme Court decide, or what of their pronouncements will be applicable to this court and that. But my point is, if we're saying that pag ang mode of initiation is by 1/3 na pumirma derecho, at ang nakalagay doon committed in relation to their office during the current term, wouldn't it be illogical if you use another mode and pwedeng hindi committed in relation to their office and during their current term? I don't think the Supreme Court would be illogical in saying this is the principle for due process in this mode but not in this other mode.
Even if we assume, Your Honor, that that is not obiter, the statement that the basis of the charge must relate to the incumbency of the impeachable officer, we submit that that still applies and we have satisfied that test.
Okay.
As I mentioned in my opening statement, integrity cannot be divided. Hindi po pwedeng biyakin ang integridad.
So on that point, so if President, an ombudsman, a COA chair who's, let's say, 60 years old, but he started in government at 20 years old, he can be impeached by something he's done when he was 20 to 30, not only on what he's done when he was already an impeachable officer?
If we are speaking about unexplained wealth, Your Honor, I have repeatedly cited the cases of the Supreme Court that provide that we must look from the reckoning of the first day of service of that public official, look at all the income that person has amassed, and determine whether it is manifestly disproportionate to the lawful income that he has reported.
Yes, I agree in terms of holding that person liable and accountable. But what I'm saying is that, let's say he was a counselor, then he was a customs director, then he was BAR, then he's now COA. Isn't the remedy for all his other positions that weren't impeachable is through the regular courts and regular case build-up, etc. But once you're an impeachable officer, you're being held accountable during the term that you are, in fact, an impeachable officer, because usually when you're an impeachable officer, it's too hard to prosecute you the normal way. Isn't that the logic there, or you disagree, counsel?
I would have to respectfully disagree. Ang pinag-uusapan po natin kasi dito ay betrayal of public trust. And I think it's very clear that when we speak of betrayal of public trust, essentially we are looking at whether the public official is fit or unfit to continue in service. Kung siya po ay nakapag-amass ng unexplained wealth, nung siya ay vice mayor o mayor na umaabot sa bilyon-bilyones, I think that would have a very big impact on the court's decision whether that person should continue in office or whether they are fit to have that office.
Okay, as I said,
With
I
the
won't
permission
argue.
of Senator Judge Alan Cayetano, with your indulgence, sir, a request was conveyed to the presiding officer to declare a very brief break. This is not a break for all of us, but a very brief break of 5 minutes, so that counsel may answer to the call of nature. That was the message conveyed to the presiding officer, including Senator Judge Cayetano. So, Chair declares a 5-minute break. We shall resume at 4:05.